subscribe to my channel, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just a story, it's a lesson you'll never forget. 3 days ago, I came home to find that everything I had spent decades collecting, every memory, every token of a life I built with my own hands, was gone. Gone like it had never existed. And if that wasn't enough, my own daughter-in-law, the woman I welcomed into my family, suddenly started flaunting a mansion, a shiny new Tesla, like she wanted the world to see me broken. She smiled at me with that smug look, thinking I was nothing but an old man, defeated, powerless, and blind. But she didn't know me. She didn't know how long I had been watching, learning, planning in silence. You see, pain has a way of sharpening your mind. When people think they can step over you, it's the perfect moment to step up. I didn't react with anger. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I watched, and I remembered every detail, every pattern, every weak spot. 3 days, just 3 days, was all it took. And by the time she thought she was untouchable, I moved. Life doesn't hand justice to anyone on a silver platter. Life doesn't care about your suffering, your loss, or your dignity. It's up to you to reclaim what's yours, not just the material things, but your power, your pride, your self-respect. And when I finally stepped forward, it wasn't about vengeance. It was about proof. Proof that no one can underestimate you without consequence. Proof that resilience is stronger than arrogance. Proof that silence can be more terrifying than a scream. I want you to understand something crucial. Your value is not measured by what others can take from you. It's measured by how you rise when everything seems lost. When the world laughs at you, when the people closest to you betray your trust, that's when you discover the fire inside. And this fire, my friends, burns brighter when fueled by patience, strategy, and relentless focus. The night she thought she had won, I was quietly plotting. Not out of spite, but out of principle. You see, life rewards those who refuse to bow to humiliation, those who transform heartbreak into power, those who turn every setback into a setup for a comeback. And when I acted, it wasn't chaotic. It was deliberate, precise, inevitable. Every move, every decision, every step she had overlooked became her undoing. And watching it unfold, knowing I had stayed true to my own dignity and strength, gave me a satisfaction that anger could never provide. Here's the lesson: no one's arrogance is stronger than your resilience. No one's success is guaranteed at your expense. And no one's attempt to belittle you can survive the quiet storm of a mind that refuses to be broken. If you ever find yourself humiliated, underestimated, or robbed of what you earned, pause, observe, plan, then rise. And rise not just to reclaim what was taken, but to show the world and yourself what true strength looks like. This isn't just my story. It's a reminder that life's cruelties are only as powerful as the fear you let them instill in you. Turn that fear into strategy. Turn despair into action. And most importantly, remember that patience is a weapon more formidable than any confrontation, more lasting than any vengeance, more transformative than any wealth or possession. She thought she had defeated me. She thought her mansion and her Tesla proved superiority. But in reality, she had revealed the depth of her own short-sightedness. And I proved that character, resilience, and silent determination are treasures no one can steal. That's the power of rising above. That's the lesson of reclaiming your dignity when life tries to strip it away. That's what true victory looks like: quiet, unstoppable, and undeniable. So, subscribe to my channel, because there's more to learn here than just stories of revenge. There are lessons about resilience, patience, strategy, and strength that will help you face every betrayal, every loss, and every challenge with a fire that cannot be extinguished. Remember, life doesn't break you unless you let it. And when you rise not just for yourself, but as a warning to anyone who underestimates the quiet power of someone who refuses to be defeated. I want you to imagine a moment when everything you believed in, everything you worked for, was suddenly stripped away from you. The kind of moment that makes the ground beneath your feet disappear. That forces you to question yourself, your purpose, and the very meaning of your life. Maybe it was betrayal, maybe it was loss, maybe it was someone else's arrogance brushing against your world and tearing pieces of it apart. For me, it was watching someone I thought I could trust, someone who should have respected me, flaunt what I had spent decades building. It's a feeling that strikes to the core. It's the kind of injustice that burns so intensely, you think you might never recover. But here's the truth: resilience doesn't come from avoiding pain or pretending it doesn't hurt. Resilience comes from staring into that pain, acknowledging it, and refusing to let it define you. That is where your real power begins. When my daughter-in-law began flaunting her new mansion, her shiny car, and the lifestyle that she never earned, it wasn't just the material loss, it was the humiliation, the sneering attitude, the sense that I had been reduced to nothing in her eyes. She thought arrogance could overpower decades of dedication. That confidence backed by entitlement could overshadow wisdom earned through years of struggle. And for a moment, if I'm honest, it almost did. There is a moment, right after you've been betrayed, where the human instinct is to fight immediately, to lash out, to scream at the world for its cruelty. I won't lie, I felt that instinct. I wanted to react. I wanted to prove her wrong in a way that would hurt her just as much as I felt hurt. But what I realized in that moment, the thing that changed everything, was that resilience is not about matching arrogance with arrogance. It is not about the loudest revenge, the sharpest words, or the flashiest display of power. Resilience is quiet. Resilience is steady. Resilience is enduring the storm while planning how to rise stronger on the other side. Arrogance is loud because it doesn't have depth. It's surface-level confidence. It's a show for the world. It's built on the fragile foundation of self-importance. When someone flaunts wealth, success, or power without earning it, it is a temporary illusion, and illusions are fragile. True strength, however, is cultivated in silence, in patience, in the moments when no one is watching. I began to understand that I had already survived more than she could ever imagine. I had faced setbacks, betrayals, and losses, yet here I was, breathing, thinking, and able to act. That is resilience. That is the quiet force that no amount of arrogance can crush. It begins with mindset, to be resilient in the face of arrogance. You must first reject the trap of comparison. She wanted me to feel small, to feel inadequate, to believe that her achievements somehow diminished my worth. That is the clever trick arrogance plays. It relies on your recognition. It thrives on envy, fear, and insecurity. But when you shift your perspective, when you remind yourself that your value is not dependent on the recognition or approval of someone who does not understand your journey, you create an unshakable foundation. Arrogance can knock at your door, it can scream, it can taunt, but it cannot penetrate the fortress of self, respect built through years of patience, learning, and endurance. Then comes the art of action. Resilience over arrogance is not passive. It is not complacent acceptance. It is intentional, thoughtful, and deliberate movement toward reclaiming your dignity and power. I didn't react immediately. I didn't confront her with words or threats. I observed. I calculated. I reminded myself that my actions, when rooted in resilience, would speak louder than any display of wealth or status she could muster. The power of resilience is that it allows you to choose your battles wisely. It allows you to conserve energy, to focus on what truly matters, and to let arrogance reveal its weaknesses over time. I want you to think about the lessons arrogance can teach, but only if you respond with resilience. Arrogance is an illusion. It is confident yet hollow. It is loud yet fragile. When you choose to act with patience and focus, you start to notice the cracks, the insecurities, and the empty bravado hiding beneath the surface. The person flaunting power or success often underestimates the depth of your experience, the subtlety of your strategy, and the strength of your determination. When resilience meets arrogance, arrogance begins to falter. That is the quiet, undeniable truth. Resilience also teaches you self-reliance. When someone flaunts what they have taken or what they think they own, it is easy to feel dependent on validation from the world or revenge to restore your pride. But real resilience comes from cultivating your inner strength, from building a life and identity that is untouchable by the opinions and actions of others. I began to remind myself that my worth was not tied to material possessions or public acknowledgement. It was tied to my integrity, my experience, my wisdom, and my ability to endure hardship without losing myself. Arrogance cannot corrupt that. Arrogance cannot take it away. That is the core of true power. Let me tell you another truth. Resilience is often invisible at first. The world may not notice your patience. People may mock your quietness. Those who flaunt arrogance assume they have already won because their confidence is loud and public. But the beauty of resilience is that it grows in silence. It strengthens with each passing day, and when the moment comes to act, it acts with precision and impact far beyond what arrogance can achieve. The person who brags, flaunts, or mocks is often acting impulsively, driven by emotion and ego. The person who responds with resilience moves like water, calm, adaptive, unstoppable, and able to carve through obstacles with grace rather than force. In my case, it was not about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about reclaiming my power and showing that arrogance could never define me. I had been robbed, not just of possessions but of trust, and yet I refused to let that loss dictate my future. Every action I took was deliberate. Every step I planned was grounded in strategy and patience. While she was busy showing off her material triumphs, I was building something far more lasting: the return of my dignity, my authority, and the undeniable reminder that resilience is more enduring than arrogance. This is why I tell you, never underestimate the strength that comes from enduring, learning, and growing quietly. People flaunting arrogance may appear untouchable, but time always reveals their vulnerability. Resilience is like compound interest. The longer you nurture it, the more powerful it becomes. Each setback, each humiliation, each moment where you could have reacted impulsively, but chose patience instead, adds to your strength. Each time you remind yourself that your worth is independent of someone else's displays of wealth or power, you solidify your foundation. You see, resilience is also about vision. It is about seeing beyond the immediate humiliation and imagining the life you want to create, a life untouched by the fleeting arrogance of others. It is about understanding that what is displayed on the surface rarely reflects reality. The person flaunting power may look confident, but their arrogance masks insecurity, fear, and fragility. When you cultivate resilience, you stop being distracted by appearances. You focus on building, creating, and acting in ways that are aligned with your values and your goals, rather than reacting to the empty posturing of others. And here is another crucial point: resilience teaches humility, even in the face of injustice. Arrogance thrives on elevating itself above others, on forcing acknowledgement and admiration. Resilience does not need external validation. It does not need to shout to be recognized. It acts quietly, deliberately, and effectively. By choosing resilience, you demonstrate that true strength is not about domination, but about mastery over yourself. That is the form of power that no arrogance can touch, that no flaunting wealth or status can diminish, and that ultimately becomes visible in the results you create and the life you rebuild. Resilience over arrogance also requires forgiveness, but not for them, for you. Holding on to anger or resentment fuels their arrogance. It feeds the illusion that they still have power over you. But when you forgive, when you release the grip of hatred, you reclaim energy, focus, and clarity. You convert the energy that could have been wasted on reacting into building your own life, into shaping your comeback, into creating impact. Resilience transforms pain into fuel, loss into opportunity, and humiliation into motivation. I want you to internalize this: anyone who flaunts arrogance, who mocks, belittles, or flaunts wealth or status to diminish others, is operating from fear, insecurity, or unearned confidence. They cannot sustain it because it is not rooted in the kind of deep, patient, earned strength that resilience provides. When you embrace resilience, you rise above the noise. You demonstrate that true power is quiet, deliberate, and unstoppable. You show that no one can diminish you, no one can rob you of your dignity, and no one can dictate the terms of your comeback. Resilience is about endurance, strategy, self-belief, and patience. It is about knowing that the person flaunting arrogance may win temporary recognition, but they cannot win the lasting impact that comes from deliberate, thoughtful, and patient action. When you commit to resilience, you commit to becoming someone whose value is inherent, unshakable, and untouchable by fleeting displays of arrogance or ego. It is the slow, quiet, an unstoppable rise that ensures that when the world finally takes notice, it is with respect, acknowledgement, and awe. Each time you face someone flaunting arrogance, remember they are loud, but they are not strong. They are flashy, but they are not durable. They are immediate, but they are not sustainable. You, on the other hand, who chooses resilience, are patient, deliberate, and enduring. Every step you take to reclaim your life, to rebuild your world, and to rise above their attempts to diminish you, strengthens you exponentially. You are cultivating a force that cannot be shaken by arrogance, no matter how bold, loud, or flashy it appears. In the end, resilience over arrogance is a philosophy, a way of being, and a form of power that grows quietly in the background, unaffected by displays of entitlement, braggadocio, or false confidence. It is grounded in self-respect, patience, strategy, and vision. It is about refusing to allow someone else's temporary arrogance to dictate your sense of worth, your actions, or your destiny. When you embrace this, you realize that no matter how others behave, no matter how they flaunt what they think is superiority, your life, your comeback, and your dignity remain firmly in your hands. When life throws betrayal, loss, or humiliation at you, the first instinct is often to react immediately, to lash out, to demand justice, to make the world see that you are hurt and that you will not tolerate it. That is the raw, human response, and it is instinctive because our emotions want immediate satisfaction. But I learned something crucial through my experiences: the power of strategic patience. Strategic patience is not about doing nothing. It is not about passive acceptance or weakness. It is about waiting, observing, and moving at the right moment with precision and purpose. It is about understanding that timing, planning, and composure often achieve more than impulsive reactions. Imagine a situation where someone you trusted has taken advantage of you, someone who flaunts what you've worked for, someone who believes their arrogance can overshadow your experience and wisdom. The instinct is to confront them immediately, to react in a way that demonstrates your anger, your pain, your outrage. But reacting without strategy is like throwing a single stone into a stormy sea and expecting to change the tide. You might create ripples, but the storm will not shift. Strategic patience teaches you that there is power in observation, in waiting for the exact moment where action will be most effective, where the impact will be undeniable. When my daughter-in-law began showing off her new mansion, her Tesla, her extravagant lifestyle, it felt like salt in a wound. Every glance, every smirk, every boastful post online was a reminder of what I had lost. It would have been easy to lash out, to yell, to confront her and let my anger dictate my actions. But I realized that momentary satisfaction would not reclaim what was mine. Momentary reactions are fleeting. They do not build legacies. Strategic patience, on the other hand, allows you to bide your time, to plan meticulously, to observe weaknesses, to let arrogance reveal its cracks while you quietly prepare your response. It transforms frustration into fuel, impulsiveness into strategy, and humiliation into opportunity. Strategic patience starts with awareness. You must be fully aware of your environment, of the people around you, and of the patterns that drive behavior. Arrogance often follows predictable paths because it is rooted in ego rather than wisdom. By observing without judgment, by resisting the urge to react emotionally, you start to notice patterns that others overlook. The person flaunting wealth or power often overestimates their position because they are acting impulsively, without foresight. Strategic patience allows you to see the gaps, the vulnerabilities, and the opportunities that will eventually allow your actions to be most effective. Patience is not passive, it is active preparation. While the world believes you are waiting, doing nothing, you are actually building your plan. You are gathering knowledge, strengthening your skills, understanding the environment, and preparing to act in a way that will maximize the outcome. Every day spent waiting strategically is an investment in your future success. Every moment you resist the temptation to react impulsively is a step toward reclaiming control. You begin to understand that time is an ally, that rushing into confrontation without preparation can undermine your objectives, and that the most impactful victories often come from the quiet, deliberate accumulation of advantage. I want you to picture this. Someone flaunting arrogance believes that their power is unshakable. They believe that immediate action is unnecessary because the world bends to their display. They are blind to subtle observation, to long-term strategy, to calculated patience. This is where strategic patience becomes a weapon. It allows you to operate from a place of control. While they are consumed by their immediate gratification, you are preparing, learning, adapting, and setting the stage for an outcome that will be decisive and undeniable. Patience in this sense is not waiting for luck. It is creating the conditions where your response will be unstoppable. One of the most critical lessons about strategic patience is mastering your own emotions. Anger, frustration, jealousy, and hurt are powerful forces, but they can cloud judgment if allowed to dictate actions. Strategic patience requires emotional discipline. It requires acknowledging your feelings, understanding their source, and then setting them aside to act with clarity and precision. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means harnessing them as fuel for preparation and planning. Every insult, every flaunt, every slight becomes a motivator, not a trigger for impulsive action. This emotional mastery allows you to operate at a higher level, to make decisions based on strategy rather than reaction, and to turn adversity into advantage. Another element of strategic patience is timing. Knowing when to act is as important as knowing how to act. Acting too soon without preparation can nullify all the advantages you have quietly built. Acting too late can allow arrogance to solidify into power, making it harder to challenge. Strategic patience teaches you to recognize the precise moment where your action will have the greatest impact. Timing is the difference between a fleeting victory and a transformative one. It is about ensuring that every step you take has maximum effect, that your energy is focused, and that your efforts are aligned with the moment where they will matter most. In my own experience, I realized that while she was flaunting her new possessions, she was blind to the fact that her arrogance created its own vulnerabilities. Impulsive displays of wealth and power often attract attention, scrutiny, and expectation. Strategic patience allows you to wait for the natural weaknesses to emerge, to gather insight, and to prepare a response that exploits the gaps created by their overconfidence. Patience in this sense is not passive suffering, it is active intelligence. It is the understanding that the universe often creates openings in ways that are invisible to the arrogant, and that recognizing and utilizing these openings is what separates reaction from mastery. Strategic patience also requires resilience because waiting does not mean you will not face discomfort. You will feel anger, jealousy, and impatience. You will question whether the delay is worth it. You will wonder if immediate action would be easier, faster, or more satisfying. But patience requires faith in the process, confidence in your preparation, and belief that the ultimate outcome will justify the wait. This is where character is forged, where determination is strengthened, and where the quiet power of strategic patience begins to compound over time. It's also about observation beyond the surface. Those who flaunt their success often do so to conceal insecurity, fear, or instability. Strategic patience allows you to see beyond the surface illusions, to understand motivations, weaknesses, and patterns that the impatient cannot discern. By observing calmly, methodically, and without judgment, you position yourself to respond in ways that are far more effective than immediate confrontation. It is a higher level of intelligence, a refined awareness that allows your eventual action to have maximum precision and impact. Strategic patience teaches humility as well. It reminds you that instant gratification is rarely the most effective path. True influence and long-term success come from preparation, understanding, and timing. It requires humility to recognize that the world does not owe you immediate justice, and that your greatest victories may unfold slowly, over time. This humility is not weakness. It is strength in disguise. It allows you to operate under the radar, to avoid impulsive missteps, and to cultivate power that cannot be shaken by arrogance or temporary displays of dominance. In the midst of waiting, it is also important to continue building yourself. Strategic patience is not about standing still. It is about growth, learning, and improvement during the waiting period. It is about strengthening your mind, your skills, your strategy, and your vision. Every day spent in preparation adds leverage, insight, and advantage. Every moment of observation adds clarity. By the time the moment arrives to act, you are not only ready, you are exponentially stronger than the person who acted impulsively, flaunted arrogance, and believed that immediate displays defined their power. Another key to strategic patience is understanding the psychology of those who act with arrogance. They often underestimate patience, dismissing it as inaction or fear. They fail to see that the one who waits strategically is quietly calculating, building, and learning. Arrogance is immediate, but strategic patience is enduring. It can turn the overconfidence of others into their downfall because it exploits impulsiveness with deliberate action. By waiting, you allow arrogance to expose itself, to overextend, and to reveal weaknesses that only the patient can capitalize on. Strategic patience requires discipline, focus, and vision. Discipline to resist impulsive reactions. Focus to continue planning while the world may seem chaotic, and vision to understand the ultimate goal beyond temporary setbacks. It is the combination of these qualities that allows a person to act decisively when the moment arrives, to reclaim power, and to demonstrate that thoughtful action always outweighs impulsive display. During my own journey, I saw firsthand how patience amplified impact. While she flaunted her possessions and believed herself untouchable, I was quietly preparing, observing, and planning. I built leverage, understood patterns, and waited for the precise moment where the outcome could be undeniable. Every day of patience allowed me to refine my approach, anticipate reactions, and create an environment where arrogance would meet its natural limits. By the time action was taken, the result was inevitable, not because of anger or impulsiveness, but because strategic patience had done its work over time. Strategic patience also teaches adaptability. While you wait, circumstances change, and the patient person observes these changes carefully. Flexibility allows you to adjust your plan as new information arises, as weaknesses emerge, and as opportunities present themselves. Those who act impulsively may miss these subtle shifts, while the patient strategist leverages them to strengthen the eventual outcome. Patience is not rigidity. It is adaptability with foresight, a measured approach that ensures action is precise and effective. Pain is an inevitable part of life. It comes uninvited, relentless, and often unfair, striking when you least expect it and leaving wounds that feel impossible to heal. Yet, I've discovered through experience that pain is not simply something to endure. It is a fuel, a force, a source of transformation if you know how to harness it. Turning pain into power is not easy. It requires introspection, courage, and the ability to confront your deepest fears without flinching. It is about taking the very thing that threatens to break you and using it to build a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. When I was robbed, when my home, my possessions, and decades of effort were taken in a single, ruthless moment, I felt a wave of despair that threatened to drown me. It was the kind of pain that goes beyond material loss. It attacks your sense of security, your identity, and your dignity. But I realized that pain has a choice embedded within it. You can let it consume you, let it define you, let it limit the rest of your life. Or you can face it, acknowledge it, and allow it to become the fuel that drives you to achieve what seemed impossible. Every wound carries a lesson. Every loss carries a strategy. Every humiliation carries insight if you have the eyes to see it. Pain demands attention. It forces you to stop pretending, to stop running, to confront the reality of your situation. It exposes truths that comfort often hides from you. In my case, watching my daughter-in-law flaunt her mansion and Tesla was a double pain. It was a reminder of the loss, but it was also a demonstration of arrogance, entitlement, and the false security that comes from material wealth. Pain in this moment could have been destructive. It could have led to impulsive reactions, anger-fueled decisions, and regret. But I chose another path. I chose to study the situation, to understand it deeply, and to find the hidden opportunities that lay within the very circumstances designed to humiliate me. Turning pain into power requires ownership. Pain loses much of its grip when you refuse to play the role of victim. There is an intoxicating trap in blaming, resenting, or seeking immediate retribution. It provides temporary satisfaction but ultimately prolongs suffering. Ownership transforms pain from a passive experience into an active force. When I acknowledge my feelings, the grief, the frustration, the shock, I also acknowledged that it was my response to that pain that would define the outcome. I could not control the theft or the flaunting, but I could control my reaction, my preparation, and the energy I would channel into turning adversity into triumph. The transformation of pain into power is rooted in self-awareness. To leverage pain effectively, you must understand it fully. What are its sources? What vulnerabilities did it expose? What opportunities might it reveal? Pain shines a light on areas of life that need attention, growth, and strengthening. It exposes the gaps in preparation, the weaknesses in systems, the moments where life's unpredictability can strike. By studying the pain, analyzing it, and extracting the lessons embedded within it, you convert a negative force into a guide for strategic action. Every hurtful event, every betrayal, and every loss becomes a blueprint for building resilience and capability. Emotional clarity is essential in this process. Pain clouds judgment, blurs focus, and distorts perception. Turning it into power requires stepping back, breathing, and observing it without allowing it to dictate immediate action. Emotional clarity allows you to distinguish between impulses and strategy. It allows you to separate reaction from reflection. In my situation, witnessing arrogance and flaunting could have triggered public confrontation, impulsive accusations, or emotional outbursts. But by cultivating emotional clarity, I could observe, learn, and plan. I could allow the emotional intensity to serve as fuel rather than a trigger, converting what felt like weakness into an engine for decisive, effective action. Discipline is the bridge between pain and power. You must commit to turning your experiences into intentional action rather than wasted energy. This involves structure, focus, and persistence. Pain often tempts us to surrender, to avoid effort, to let bitterness settle in. But discipline transforms that temptation into opportunity. It channels energy into preparation, learning, and strategic positioning. In my journey, discipline meant observing patterns, gathering knowledge, identifying weaknesses, and preparing a plan that was precise, intentional, and unstoppable. Every day of discipline reinforced the lesson that power is built over time, that success is cultivated rather than demanded, and that those who endure pain with purpose inevitably rise above those who exploit immediate gratification. Pain is also a catalyst for creativity. When you are forced to confront limitations, scarcity, or loss, you begin to think differently. You innovate, you strategize, and you discover solutions you never considered when life was comfortable. My experience of loss pushed me to reevaluate what mattered, to identify what could be leveraged, and to design approaches that were subtle yet powerful. Creativity born from pain is transformative because it is rooted in necessity. It does not seek approval, it seeks outcomes. It transforms constraints into advantages, turning apparent weaknesses into strategic opportunities, and creating solutions that only those who have faced true adversity can conceive. Resilience is the natural companion of this process. Turning pain into power is not instantaneous. It is cumulative, gradual, and often invisible to the world. Each day of reflection, preparation, and strategic observation strengthens resolve. Each moment of resisting impulsive reaction reinforces the habit of calculated decision-making. Pain becomes a teacher. Resilience becomes the skill, and power becomes the inevitable outcome. The journey is never easy, and the discomfort is real, but the results are permanent. Those who learn to harness pain create a version of themselves that cannot be shaken by arrogance, betrayal, or misfortune. The key to this transformation is perspective. Pain is not inherently negative. It is a signal, a messenger, and an invitation to grow. By reframing your experience, you reclaim control over its meaning. The same event that feels devastating can become a training ground for strength. The insult that cuts deep can become a mirror for reflection. The loss that feels unbearable can become a catalyst for strategic mastery. Perspective transforms suffering into insight, disappointment into guidance, and defeat into a blueprint for victory. Turning pain into power also requires patience. The transformation is not immediate, it is a process. The rawness of hurt may linger. The sting of betrayal may persist, and the temptation to react may remain strong. But patience allows you to integrate the lessons fully, to build understanding and skill before taking decisive action. Patience ensures that when you do act, your efforts are precise, calculated, and impactful. Acting too soon without harnessing the full potential of your pain can dilute its power, while careful timing amplifies the effect of every decision. Connection to purpose magnifies the transformation. Pain without direction can be exhausting, demoralizing, and paralyzing. But when connected to a higher purpose, every experience becomes fuel for meaningful action. My purpose was not simply revenge, it was reclaiming control, demonstrating resilience, and converting adversity into strategy. When pain is aligned with purpose, it loses much of its destructive force and instead becomes a motivator for deliberate, impactful action. It allows you to move beyond victimhood into mastery, beyond frustration into creation, and beyond fear into courage. Strategic observation remains crucial throughout this process. Pain often exposes hidden truths about people, situations, and systems. By watching closely, you identify weaknesses, patterns, and opportunities. Those who act impulsively may overlook these signals, while the patient observer transforms them into tactical advantage. In my story, the flaunting, arrogance, and carelessness became a roadmap. By paying attention, I understood when and how to act, where leverage existed, and what approach would yield the greatest effect. Observation allows pain to become a tool for insight, turning emotional energy into actionable intelligence. Adversity is a crucible in which character is forged. Turning pain into power is not just about external outcomes, it is about internal transformation. Strength, wisdom, patience, and strategic thinking emerge when you confront discomfort rather than avoid it. Each challenge, setback, or humiliation is an opportunity to refine your approach, strengthen your resolve, and expand your capacity to influence the world. Pain is not a limitation, it is the environment in which your best self is cultivated. Faith in yourself is essential. Pain can erode confidence, create doubt, and make the path forward appear impossible. But believing in your capacity to turn adversity into opportunity sustains momentum. Confidence born from preparation, reflection, and learning is unshakable because it is grounded in experience. As you harness pain, you gain a profound understanding of your resilience, your resourcefulness, and your potential. This self-belief fuels continued action, reinforcing the cycle of turning challenges into victories. Finally, turning pain into power requires commitment. It demands that you refuse to be defined by your circumstances, that you refuse to allow hurt to dictate your life, and that you dedicate yourself to using every challenge as a stepping stone toward mastery. Each moment of suffering, every obstacle encountered, is not wasted energy when channeled into growth. The pain that once seemed like a setback becomes the foundation for strength, insight, and eventual triumph. Patience is a skill few truly master, and yet it is one of the most powerful tools you can wield in life. Strategic patience is not about passivity or inaction. It is about knowing when to wait, observing carefully, and preparing yourself for the precise moment when your actions will have the greatest impact. In the heat of emotion, especially after betrayal or loss, it is easy to rush, to act impulsively, and to make decisions that feel satisfying in the moment but yield minimal results in the long run. The true power of patience comes from understanding that timing is everything, and that preparation multiplies the effect of every move you make. When I was robbed and saw my daughter-in-law flaunting her mansion and Tesla, the initial rush of anger and humiliation was overwhelming. That instinct to confront, to strike, or to respond immediately was intense. But I understood that immediate action without a plan would only give her the temporary satisfaction of reaction. Strategic patience required me to pause, to observe, and to let the initial emotions settle. It required me to step back and allow the chaos of the moment to reveal the opportunities hidden within the situation. This is what separates those who are truly powerful from those who are merely reactive. Strategic patience begins with observation. You must watch carefully, notice patterns, and understand the motivations of those around you. Impulsive people act without thinking, revealing their weaknesses and vulnerabilities. By contrast, those who exercise strategic patience see every detail, understand every nuance, and anticipate the outcomes of every possible action. In my case, observing her behavior, her overconfidence, and the ways she displayed her wealth allowed me to craft a response that was precise, effective, and devastating, not out of malice, but as a demonstration of calculated power. Patience is the lens through which clarity emerges from chaos. Preparation is the second pillar of strategic patience. Waiting without action is not patience, it is indecision. Strategic patience demands that while you wait, you prepare meticulously. You gather knowledge, you assess resources, and you design your strategy with precision. Every day that passes becomes a day of accumulation, refinement, and positioning. In moments of adversity, preparation ensures that when you finally act, you act with purpose, confidence, and impact. It is the bridge between the initial pain and the eventual triumph, converting raw emotion into disciplined action. Timing is the essence of patience. Acting too soon can squander opportunity, while waiting too long can allow circumstances to change against you. Strategic patience requires an acute sense of timing, an ability to recognize the exact moment when conditions are optimal for action. This involves careful assessment of the environment, the people involved, and the dynamics at play. In my experience, understanding timing meant identifying when she was most vulnerable, most complacent, and least prepared for what was coming. It meant acting not out of revenge, but with calculated precision to reclaim control and demonstrate the power of strategic thinking. Self-control is inseparable from patience. Impulses, especially when fueled by anger, humiliation, or grief, can derail even the best laid plans. Developing self-control requires discipline, reflection, and the ability to pause before responding. It is the inner strength that allows you to resist immediate gratification, to hold back when emotions surge, and to channel energy into constructive, purposeful action. Self-control transforms waiting from frustration into opportunity, turning moments of tension into periods of growth and insight. Strategic patience also requires vision. You must have a clear understanding of what you hope to achieve and why it matters. Patience without vision is aimless, it becomes mere delay without purpose. When I planned my response, I visualized the outcome I wanted, not just in terms of immediate satisfaction, but in the demonstration of resilience, intelligence, and control. Every action I prepared was aligned with this vision, ensuring that the eventual execution was coherent, powerful, and undeniable. Vision transforms patience from passive waiting into active preparation for a meaningful goal. Learning to embrace uncertainty is another critical aspect of strategic patience. Life is unpredictable, and the timing of events, the behavior of others, and the opportunities that arise are rarely within your control. Strategic patience does not ignore uncertainty. It uses it. By observing, analyzing, and preparing, you convert uncertainty from a source of fear into a source of insight. You anticipate multiple outcomes, prepare contingencies, and adapt to changing circumstances without losing focus on your ultimate objective. Patience in the face of uncertainty is a demonstration of both resilience and intelligence. Strategic patience fosters clarity of thought. When you rush, decisions are clouded by emotion, ego, or impulse. When you wait and observe, clarity emerges. You begin to see the situation as it truly is, free from distortion, exaggeration, or bias. In my experience, the moments of patience allowed me to see not only her weaknesses but also my own areas of growth, the resources available to me, and the precise steps required to regain control. Clarity allows patience to become power, transforming observation into insight and insight into action. Resilience is strengthened through strategic patience. Waiting while preparing, observing, and learning builds mental fortitude. Each moment of restraint reinforces the habit of deliberate action and strengthens your confidence in your own judgment. It teaches you that success is rarely immediate and that measured, patient steps are often more impactful than impulsive reactions. Resilience cultivated through patience ensures that when challenges escalate, you do not falter, panic, or compromise your long-term objectives. It transforms you into someone who is calm under pressure, unwavering in focus, and unshakable in purpose. Strategic patience also enhances creativity. When you step back, analyze the situation, and resist the urge to react immediately, you open space for innovation. Solutions that are not visible in moments of chaos often become clear in moments of reflection. In my case, patience allowed me to craft a response that was both subtle and devastating, leveraging insights that would have been impossible to identify in the heat of anger. Creativity born from patience is strategic because it is informed by observation, preparation, and timing, ensuring that actions are effective and outcomes are maximized. Patience allows you to build leverage. By waiting and preparing, you position yourself to act from a place of strength rather than weakness. Every moment of patience becomes an opportunity to gather information, build alliances, and understand the dynamics at play. Leverage is about maximizing impact with minimal effort, and it is only achievable through careful observation, preparation, and timing. Acting prematurely squanders leverage, acting with patience multiplies it, ensuring that every move carries exponential effect. Strategic patience demands humility. It requires acknowledgement that you do not have all the answers, that outcomes are not entirely within your control, and that life will test you in ways you cannot predict. Humility allows you to listen, observe, and adapt rather than insist on immediate control or dominance. It prevents arrogance from undermining your strategy and ensures that every action is thoughtful, intentional, and aligned with your ultimate goal. Patience without humility risks impulsivity disguised as calculation. The practice of patience strengthens emotional intelligence. By observing, reflecting, and restraining impulsive responses, you gain insight into the motivations, behaviors, and patterns of those around you. Emotional intelligence allows you to anticipate reactions, manage relationships, and navigate complex interpersonal dynamics with skill. In my experience, understanding her behavior, her motivations, and her vulnerabilities allowed me to design a response that was both effective and aligned with the principles of fairness, dignity, and strategy. Strategic patience cultivates long-term perspective. Immediate reactions often prioritize short-term satisfaction, but long-term success requires foresight, planning, and sustained effort. Patience allows you to see beyond temporary discomfort, embarrassment, or loss and focus on the outcomes that will truly matter. It teaches you that the most powerful actions are those that are deliberate, timed, and aligned with your overarching goals. In moments of adversity, patience transforms temporary setbacks into milestones on the path to mastery. Finally, patience is a demonstration of inner strength. It shows that you are not swayed by provocation, that you are capable of measured, deliberate action, and that you are committed to achieving meaningful outcomes. Strategic patience is not passive. It is an active choice to observe, prepare, and act with precision. It is a conscious decision to convert adversity into opportunity, to channel emotion into strategy, and to ensure that every action contributes to long-term success. Belief in yourself is the cornerstone of every achievement, every triumph, and every story of transformation. It is the inner flame that refuses to be extinguished, even when the world seems determined to crush you. Self-belief is not arrogance or blind confidence. It is the unwavering recognition of your own potential, the courage to act despite fear, and the resilience to persist despite repeated setbacks. When I faced the betrayal of being robbed, when I watched my daughter-in-law flaunt her wealth as if my existence and my struggle were irrelevant, it was my self-belief that became my anchor, my guide, and ultimately my weapon. Without it, every plan, every strategy, every carefully timed action would have been meaningless. Belief is the force that turns despair into opportunity, weakness into strength, and helplessness into mastery. Inner strength is cultivated through struggle. It is forged in the fires of adversity, tested in moments of humiliation, and proven through persistence. True inner strength does not come from ease or comfort. It emerges when you are pushed to your limits and forced to confront the worst aspects of your circumstances. I discovered this truth when I realized that my anger, my pain, and my sense of injustice could either consume me or be transformed into disciplined action. Every challenge I faced became an opportunity to fortify my spirit, to refine my strategy, and to reinforce my confidence in my ability to overcome. Self-belief allows you to act decisively when others hesitate. Most people are paralyzed by doubt, overwhelmed by fear, or swayed by the opinions of those around them. Belief in oneself cuts through indecision and allows you to move forward with clarity and purpose. When I observed my daughter-in-law's arrogance, I knew that hesitation or reactionary anger would only feed her sense of superiority. It was my self-belief that allowed me to plan deliberately, to trust in my own judgment, and to execute actions that were measured, precise, and ultimately transformative. Confidence rooted in experience and reflection is unshakable. Self-belief is strengthened by acknowledging both your achievements and your lessons learned. It requires honesty with yourself, recognizing both strengths and weaknesses, and using that understanding to guide future actions. When I mapped out my response, I drew not only from what I had endured but from a lifetime of observing human behavior, understanding motivation, and analyzing outcomes. This confidence was not a fleeting emotion, but a foundation built on insight, awareness, and preparation. Inner strength is inseparable from resilience. Life will test you, betray you, and challenge every assumption you hold. Resilience is the capacity to withstand these trials without losing your sense of self or your direction. It allows you to recover from setbacks, adapt to new circumstances, and continue moving forward despite obstacles. In my journey, resilience was my constant companion. Every moment of doubt, every pang of humiliation, every sign of deceit became a step in building my endurance, sharpening my instincts, and reinforcing my belief that I was capable of overcoming any situation. Self-belief empowers you to reclaim your narrative. One of the most destructive forces in life is allowing others to define your worth, to dictate your identity, or to shape your reality. Belief in yourself is the antidote. It is the awareness that your value is not determined by external circumstances, wealth, or the judgments of others. When my possessions were stolen and my dignity was challenged, I refused to allow these events to define me. My self-belief became the lens through which I interpreted the world, enabling me to craft a response that asserted my agency, intelligence, and moral authority. Inner strength thrives on focus. Self-belief without focus is scattered energy, while inner strength channeled through concentration yields extraordinary results. Focus allows you to prioritize, to eliminate distractions, and to invest your energy where it will have the greatest impact. When planning my response, I understood that my attention had to remain on the objective, not the emotions that surged within me. Every thought, every decision, every preparation step was aligned with a single goal, magnifying the power of my actions and ensuring their effectiveness. Belief in oneself is a shield against fear. Fear is the reaction to the unknown, the anticipation of failure, or the anxiety of judgment. Self-belief transforms fear from a paralyzing force into a motivator, a signal to prepare more carefully, to act more deliberately, and to trust in your capacity to handle outcomes. When I faced the prospect of confronting someone who had wronged me, fear was present, but it was tempered by the knowledge that I had the resources, insight, and resolve to act effectively. Fear became a guide, not a barrier, because it was filtered through unwavering self-belief. Inner strength is reinforced by discipline. Belief alone is insufficient without consistent action. Discipline is the daily practice, the commitment to preparation, and the willingness to endure discomfort for the sake of long-term goals. My actions were not random or impulsive. They were the result of disciplined planning, observation, and execution. Discipline ensured that my belief translated into tangible outcomes, that my strategy was implemented with precision, and that every effort moved me closer to reclaiming control and demonstrating the power of deliberate action. Self-belief enables you to inspire and influence others. People are drawn to those who radiate confidence, authenticity, and courage. When you trust in yourself, your presence alone becomes a source of guidance and motivation. In the course of my journey, the strength of my conviction influenced not only my actions but the perceptions of those around me. Observing the calculated nature of my response, others recognized the depth of preparation, intelligence, and moral fortitude involved. Self-belief has the power to affect not only your life, but also the lives of others who witness your resilience. Inner strength is the key to long-term vision. Short-term victories are fleeting, but the capacity to endure, to persist, and to believe in yourself allows for sustained achievement. Self-belief provides the clarity to set meaningful goals, to anticipate challenges, and to pursue objectives that align with your values and aspirations. My journey was not simply about reacting to an immediate injustice. It was about cultivating a life in which I maintained control, dignity, and strategic advantage. Belief in myself provided the anchor for this long-term vision, ensuring that each action contributed to an overarching plan. Belief in oneself encourages reflection and learning. Inner strength is not static, it evolves through experience, introspection, and adaptation. By reflecting on past experiences, understanding mistakes, and identifying areas for growth, self-belief becomes deeper, more resilient, and more grounded. Every challenge I faced offered lessons that enhanced my capacity to navigate future obstacles, reinforcing the idea that inner strength grows through deliberate engagement with life's trials rather than avoidance. Self-belief allows you to act with integrity. Confidence unmoored from moral grounding can become destructive, but when inner strength is aligned with principles, it produces outcomes that are both effective and honorable. My actions were guided by a sense of justice, strategic thinking, and a commitment to ethical behavior. Belief in myself ensured that I acted not out of petty spite, but from a position of deliberate power, clarity, and responsibility, demonstrating that true strength is inseparable from character. Inner strength is amplified through persistence. Belief in yourself does not guarantee immediate success, but it ensures continuity, resilience, and determination in the face of obstacles. Each step forward, each decision made with confidence and insight, compounds over time, creating momentum that cannot be easily derailed. In planning and executing my response, persistence transformed strategy into results, reinforcing the understanding that inner strength is demonstrated not in moments of ease, but in sustained effort under pressure. Self-belief fosters courage in the face of uncertainty. Life is unpredictable, filled with challenges that defy preparation. Belief in your own capacity to adapt, overcome, and succeed provides the courage to act despite uncertainty. When faced with the prospect of confronting someone who had wronged me, my courage was not the absence of fear, but the presence of conviction. Inner strength allowed me to move forward with confidence, turning uncertainty into opportunity and demonstrating the transformative power of self-belief. Inner strength is a source of empowerment. Belief in yourself allows you to reclaim control over circumstances, to assert your agency, and to influence outcomes in meaningful ways. When I navigated the complex situation with my daughter-in-law, my inner strength enabled me to transform vulnerability into power, creating a narrative in which I was no longer a passive victim but an active, deliberate participant shaping my own destiny. Self-belief encourages resilience under pressure. The external world will challenge you, provoke you, and attempt to undermine your confidence, but inner strength provides the foundation to withstand these pressures without faltering. My ability to remain composed, deliberate, and focused in the midst of humiliation and betrayal was a direct result of cultivated self-belief, demonstrating that true inner strength is not reactive but proactive, informed by reflection, discipline, and clarity of purpose. Belief in yourself sustains hope. Inner strength nurtures the conviction that challenges are temporary, that perseverance is rewarded, and that you have the capacity to overcome adversity. Every decision I made, every strategy I implemented, was underpinned by the hope born from self-belief, a hope that adversity could be transformed into opportunity, that humiliation could be transformed into empowerment, and that patience, preparation, and strategic action would yield meaningful outcomes. Self-belief allows you to rise above external validation. Recognition, approval, and admiration are fleeting, but belief in yourself is constant. By anchoring your sense of worth in your own capabilities rather than the judgments of others, you gain freedom to act with authenticity, courage, and integrity. In confronting the arrogance and flaunting of my daughter-in-law, my actions were guided not by the desire for validation, but by an unwavering trust in my own judgment, insight, and capacity to shape the outcome. Inner strength transforms adversity into mastery. Belief in yourself ensures that setbacks, betrayals, and challenges are not merely obstacles but opportunities for growth, learning, and demonstration of resilience. Each moment of hardship reinforces your capacity to act decisively, to maintain focus under pressure, and to navigate complex situations with skill. In my experience, this transformation is not instantaneous. It is cultivated through reflection, preparation, and deliberate action informed by unwavering self-belief